Hi ladies, today I'm going to be showing you a couple different ways to make effective use of your study guides and when and how you should use them. Okay, first you want to pick the best format study guide that will be best for you. As you can see right below, it says if you're a visual learner, consider using idea mapping to draw out important information. You can use colors, and therefore a color coding in your study guide. Other people have also recommended colored paper or colored flashcards, just so you can have just a little color and organization in there, but it's not necessarily as formatted, if you will, as a normal outline would be. If you are a linear or chronological learner, make sure that you organize your information that'll best suit your needs. So you will want things chronologically. If you have dates, chronological. If you have vocab words, alphabetically. That is just a few ways that you can learn things in sequences by moving from one topic onto the next in an orderly fashion. If you're one of those people that can memorize things quickly, consider making flashcards. Quizlet is also very helpful. You can play matching games with your vocab cards. Even recording yourself speaking the study guide aloud and playing it back to yourself is something that is quick yet efficient for people who can learn like that. If you are one of the people who needs to organize your information so that you can remember it with an emotional tie, organize your notes into a story. Make one connection to another. Make rhymes or sing along to your favorite songs as you study your study guide. And even connecting your words to other vocab and phrases. One last side note before we continue on to making our study guides. When you are making your study guides, do not use your class name as a concept. AP Chemistry is not a concept, it's a class. And the sub-concepts will just get crazy complicated if you do it that way. However, if you do it like the yes example on the left, a concept of AP Chemistry is stoichiometry. Your sub-concepts could be rules, how to use it, exceptions, special cases, reminders, tips to yourself, things like that. And that will be something that is very important if you want to keep your study guide to the point and effective. Okay, so your first basic study guide is, like I mentioned earlier, your formal outline. This is something that you might have seen on an English paper or something like that, but it can also be very helpful when you're making a study guide. For your title, you would put your class, and your concept number 1 would be a unit or a chapter or just a topic in general that you're trying to study. Your subcategory will be something smaller, and from there you can add in additional info, reminders, helpful hints, formulas, whatever it is that is just lesser information that is kind of like additive. The second study guide type I'm going to be talking about is the concept map, also known as the mind map or mind web, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people like this because you can lay out your study guide visually. You can use colors, as I've done, and you can even do things like add pictures in or doodle on it, whatever you find more comfortable. So you're going to start in the middle with your main concept. So again, that's going to be a unit or an actual concept, and you're going to make connections to it. So again, if you did stoichiometry, in the middle you could do reminders, when to use it, how to use it as your subcategories. Your ideas could branch out from there. If you have any other specific formulas or anything else you want to remind yourself of, but it's not necessarily the big concept, that's where it can go. The third type of study guide is a comparisons chart. This would, I would assume, be helpful on a science exam or something where you are going to be comparing multiple things. So for example, you can use different types of plants and different characteristics they have, and you can check or mark or whatever you want to do in the boxes to show, plant C has these characteristics while only plant A has all of them. So again, this is just something that you can use if you need to compare multiple things, but don't necessarily need to explain concepts as well. Study guide number 4 is pretty basic. It's mainly used for vocab or formulas or anything where you're going to be needing to learn short phrases, formulas, concepts, etc. Really good use for this, flashcards. If you're looking to save paper, cut them in half or even smaller. You can add pictures on the front or back if you need to know what something looks like. You can even color them if you so desire, and even do a color code system with the flashcards. So for example, if you're doing Spanish flashcards, you could do green flashcards for verbs and blue flashcards for your vocab and any other, categories of your study guide that you'd need to do. If you are looking to do things online, if that works better for you, Quizlet is a really fantastic app. You can play games with your flashcards. They have matching and spelling, and they even have an audio function, which is really good for helping you study for any sort of oral or listening exam that you might have. The next study guide is making your own practice exams, and that does include any practice exams your teachers have given you online, or even taking questions from an old test or quiz that you've gotten wrong and rewriting them. Do not do it on the same piece of paper, because then your eyes may just wander back to your old answers, and that wouldn't be helpful for you studying. If you are going to make your own from scratch, though, look at your old tests. Look at previous homework, in-class assignments. Warm-ups are generally really good at this sort of thing. Or even just make your own questions on topics that you find that you need a little bit more work in. Okay, hold up. So we have all these different types of study guides, but at this point you might be wondering, well, what type of information do I put on these study guides? Because that's not always the easiest thing to know. So choosing what goes on your study guides can be complicated, but with a little practice, it gets easier as you go. First, ask your teacher what will be on the test, and use any information on study guides that they've given you if provided. That's really important because if they do go through the time to do it and give you a study guide, that is generally what's going to be on the test. Very important. Next, go through your textbook and other reading materials. Although not everything in your textbook will be on the final generally, it's important that you really get a good understanding, and if you haven't read the textbook at this point, maybe now's a good time. Next, go through your class notes. Look at what's important, what's highlighted. If you're not into that type of thing, just go through your class notes and translate. And what do I mean by translate? I mean unjumble. Get the big concepts, put them down, write again what it is, when you use it, if it's something for history, when it happened, things like that. Get the main points of every unit. And last, make sure that you find the important concepts and information in each chapter and unit. Like I've said before, make sure you find the point. To take things further, if you are reviewing for a math or science exam, ask what, if any, formulas will be given to you. Oftentimes, science and math teachers will give you some formulas for your final that you don't need to memorize, so that's important. Then make a list of the rest of the finals as you're going through your other notes, your textbook, and all of the things I mentioned above, up here. For this, flashcards may be helpful, or you can even do a word map like I showed you, which is the concept map, a formal outline, anything else really, whatever works best for you. But make sure you know how to use the formula, when to use it, and why you're using it. Those all are very important. If you're reviewing for an English exam, be sure to know all the characters' names in the books you've read. Concept maps are often helpful for this if you substitute characters for the concepts and you draw connections between the characters, and those can be your sub-concepts, and then your little ideas or events that happen to them, or any other significant details. And last, if you're reviewing for history, be sure to know names, dates, places, policies, and the relationships between all of the above. That's very important to do well in a history exam. And some last final tips: carry around your study guides. There is a lot of downtime that you don't think about when you're often on your phone, looking at a wall, whatever. Car rides, downtime, waiting for your parents, your friends. Keep it with you. You can study them. Highlight any information you find important or challenging. If it's something you struggle with, highlight it. Come back to it as you're studying. Very important. Study in more than one place. Do not study in your normal study space, because there is not going to be a final that you're going to have in your bedroom or on your couch. It's not going to be as comfortable. So make sure you put yourself out at a library or in the middle of the hallway at Mercy. Places where things are going on, so you're not as used to studying and being as focused as you are at home. Next, schedule your study time. Study in smaller amounts for multiple days, which I know is challenging for Mercy girls who tend to wait till the last minute, really late at night, and jam everything in. While that may work for some people, generally doesn't work for everyone, and an 8-hour cram session will not only sleep deprive you, it will probably overwhelm you as well. Next, remember to eat, exercise, drink water. No, that does not include energy drinks, or Starbucks for that matter. Make sure to shower and relax. And remember, you're going to do fine. Just follow some of these tips, make your study guides the best you can, and study your hearts away.